Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra's lair. I'm your host, Larry, and we're back for some more indie gaming first looks, and I think it would be a little remiss of me if I didn't take a look at some of the games that had generated some controversy in the recent months or weeks since they were created and released. And so on that mark, today we are going to be checking out the game Thunderbird Strike, which is made by a number of artists and programmers that worked in and around Michigan State and Minnesota in artist residencies, and created this game, which is essentially a type of game that illustrates protesting against the oil companies and the oil pipeline that, you know, the one that they had that whole thing at the Standing Rock Reservation and all of that. And what you're doing is you're taking control of a mythological bird from the mythology of the Native American people, I believe, and you are zapping the oil people. You're zapping trucks, you're zapping facilities that they take the oil to, and you're also zapping dead animals to bring them back from the dead. It's kind of a cutesy little game, but the controversy part here is, I'm sure you can gather, is that the oil companies are claiming that the artists and designers and everybody behind this game are encouraging eco terrorism. And eco terrorism is where, you know, an activist that's got, you know, a screw loose decides, I'm going to go and bomb something, or I'm going to go and do serious damage to a facility, or I'm going to go harm some people to try and harass people that work for some company or organization or entity that is damaging the environment. I would say in this case, this is really just a cutesy game that is intended to encourage people to get active, to support the environment, and to protest destructive corporate entities that are trying to harm the environment, or they just don't care, which isn't actively trying to destroy things, but could be construed as such. And we're going in this game between the oil sands, and we're traveling from like there to the Great Lakes in a side-scroller. And we gather a lightning by flying up into the clouds as this Thunderbird here. We're just a glowing amoeba-looking bird. And then we can zap the trucks and the oil stuff to destroy them. And then we can also zap the animals to bring them back to life. It's our job as the great and mighty protector, the Thunderbird. So yeah, we can go tase some of these animals. Sometimes the tasing does not work on animal corpses. Don't ask me why. I'm not an expert on mythological animal tasing. But we can destroy some trucks if we tase them a couple of times. I think you can just paralyze them if you just tase them once, but they don't really move much. A lot of this is really just the gameplay. This is everything. You fly up and down between the clouds, gathering energy, you tase the occasional truck, you encourage the occasional skeleton to rise from the dead like you're some sort of demented necromancer. And the whole implication, at least this is my interpretation, I think the goal of this game is to encourage people to see that through their environmental activism, they can stop evil corporations from damaging the planet, encourage better management of our environments, and revitalize the ecosystem, or in this case, tase dead bodies and bring them back to life for like wolves, or what are those? Are those caribou? They look like reindeer. They don't look like any elk I've ever seen. But they could be reindeer, they could be deer, they could be elk, maybe moose? No, that's not moose. Moose have got those like big kind of swathing, almost grabby looking portions to the upper antler that are humongous. And I guess I could see how the easiest explanation when you disagree with activists that are working against your own corporate interests, the easiest thing to relate this to is obviously terrorism. That said, I don't know a lot of terrorists that have access to a mythological Thunderbird that can shit lightning. If you find one, go ahead and let me know, because we're proper screwed if somebody finds a living Thunderbird and decides to convince it to start attacking things. So until then, I don't think this is in any way relating to environmental terrorism. Again, I think this is just a really romanticized appeal for people to try and get them involved in activism so that they can try to stop some of this. Now, I'm not in favor of the oil companies one way or the other. Locally in Colorado, I think they take a lot of liberties and do a lot of damage to our environment. But not every single thing that these companies do is completely evil. I would say in the case of a lot of the smaller oil companies that seem to do the most damage, I would almost call it apathetic, because they just don't want to spend any money on things like safety or all of the fail-safes that keep, like, oil from spilling out into the countryside in the case of parts of Colorado and North Dakota and stuff. Although, really, I think the issue around these parts is the natural gas extraction, because when you can light the water on fire, that's usually a bad thing, you know? I don't go pour a thing of water from the tap and say, "Yay, fire! Woo!" Otherwise, it's not really a particularly creative game. It's not really a particularly clever game. Go get lightning, zap things. Go get lightning, zap things. All the illustrations are pretty basic. They kind of look like somebody took some watercolor drawings and then they put them into a flatbed scanner and then they crop them out in Photoshop and then put them into the Unity game engine. And then, you know, you can just zap some stuff. It's kind of buggy right now, but it is free, so I mean, what do you really want? And it's eventually going to come to iOS and Android. I don't remember from the articles I was reading when I was taking my trip recently if they are currently being sued by the oil lobby or the oil companies, but they certainly are implying that they are responsible or are trying to be responsible for some eco terrorism. So I guess we do get scored at the end. We get to how many things we've destroyed, how many trucks we blew up and all that. And then we slowly make our way from the oil sands to the Great Lakes. So it looks like now we're going to be attacking the actual pipeline that's in the middle of an aspen forest. And there's like what might be a Native American saying stuff. Was that supposed to be a Trump hat? Was that like a Make America Great Again hat? I don't know. There's a lot of visuals, a lot of symbolism in here. I'm not sure I'm catching all of it. There's a lot of Native American style artwork going on. Like, I suppose I should say that there's not a lot particularly bad about this art style. It's just, you know, this is a simple, very safe type of game for someone to make, especially if they were, say, a student. You get some art assets together, you make some of it parallax in like Illustrator, throw that animated files into Unity, and then once everything's together, you can kind of just make everything parallax. You can just repeat the bird animation over and over, throw in some lightning, and then the control scheme is pretty basic. Just zap stuff. Zap it real good. So right now, we're not really blowing up a pipeline, we're destroying the components for a pipeline. So we're destroying like the cranes that lift the pipes. They're kind of like bulldozer cranes. And then we're just blasting the pipes themselves so they can't be used. And in the background, we have a bunch of witnesses. Oh, we summoned a tornado. All right, that's actually kind of cool. We can summon a tornado to do our dirty work for us. That's very mystical all of a sudden. All right, I'm down to clown with the tornado powers. Give me more of that. Like, give me an activatable, like, tornado power. If you're really going to gamify this and make it so people want to play it, share it, and get your message across, you really need to make this as compelling a game as possible. So give me, like, unlockable powers based upon my score. Give me the ability to summon tornadoes or typhoons or a lightning storm that I don't even have to directly control, that actually damages stuff. Because currently, like, lightning strikes the ground, but it doesn't really seem to do anything to anyone or anything. And then you can also maybe embed a little bit more directly your message and what you want people to be doing here into the game, and then you wouldn't have companies claiming that you're supporting or encouraging eco terrorism. Because the best way to prevent people from abusing or reconditioning or messing with your political message or your political stance is to make it as clear, straightforward, and upfront as possible. Like, maybe you could put in, like, a little bit of story or a little bit of narration from a voice actor from one of the schools that you've been working with at the front of this game so that you can imply what's going on and what's happening and to give context so that somebody else doesn't give context for you. So apparently I'm giving life back to the people that were formerly statues? Alright. I mean, it's not the weirdest thing I've done today, giving life back to people. It looks like I'm turning them into, like, Inca statues that are gonna, like, come to life and start thumping people. In, like, a Mayan temple or something. I don't know. So overall, it's a kind of a whatever game. It's free. It's meant to sort of talk about the issues with oil and the environment, and the corporate interests meet the interests of the people, and activists and protesters and all of that stuff. Do I think it supports eco terrorism? No, because just like a game about tennis doesn't make me a superb tennis player, a game about a bird that shoots lightning is not going to turn me into a bird that shoots lightning that is going to go and attack ExxonMobil. It's not going to happen. Honestly, the game that I think would imply eco-terrorism was if it was like, go get the things to make a bomb or something. That would be eco-terrorism. But this is just a romanticized version of the fight against the evil corporate overlords that really at the end of the day is kind of cutesy, romanticized, but basically harmless. I would just call this, for a lot of the people that worked on it, a stocking stuffer for their portfolio that, you know, it has what seems like a good cause surrounding it. It's not particularly crazy. It's not groundbreaking on any level, gameplay-wise, story-wise, or graphics-wise. But hey, it's there, it does a thing. It gets people talking about this, certainly, with all the people complaining about eco-terrorism and activism and all the things that people have done, trying to say that all people are this, or all people are that. I don't know, let me know in the comments what everybody thinks about this game. I'm kind of curious what people's opinions of this are, because I've obviously given you mine, which is to say, it's cutesy, but it's not that meaningful towards eco-terrorism. It's just a romanticized thing, trying to drive awareness about this on some level, and trying to get people through the game's website to get involved with the fight against big oil as a protester and an activist, not a terrorist. So that'll be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Larry. Let me know what you've been thinking about this, if you've ever heard about this, in the comments below, and I will catch you next time. That is a giant snake monster, which I'm guessing is supposed to be Big Oil, the snake. I guess we gotta fight that. So you go play this on your own at home. It's free. Check it out. It's all the Thunderbird action I know you love and crave. You can tase a snake to death. Everybody's favorite snake taser fun. So yeah, that'll be it. Bye everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe.